Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out the dance practice for Scream. It has been a minute since I've checked out a dance practice. I know I definitely have some of them to catch up on, but this one I'm very excited for. We have some backup dancers and just some of the choreo that I saw while I was watching the music video gets me really excited. We also have a few different versions of this as well. There's a studio version, there's an MV version, there's a special version, there's one in suits, which I don't know if I'm brave enough yet let that one in my life. There's a bunch of comeback stages as well, so definitely lots of stuff to do with Scream, but I wanted to start with just checking out the dance practice before I went into any of those other versions, because I want to just be able to see what the choreo looks like before getting into camera movements and the performance aspect of dancing and performing the song. So let's just get into this, because I'm excited to see what they have in store for me this time. All right, here we go. Love that starting image. Ooh, powerful. Ooh, okay, we were like getting lifts. I love the layering that we have here of people on the ground and then people who are standing up, right? So I love that. I love the power with which they stood up as well. There's like a slowness to that in contrast to these very like fast, hard-hitting moves that we had with some of the dancers that are around them. Love the lift there with Gio as well. But one of them was Yuhyun, I think her line is "I don't lie." Is that the line that she says? I probably won't find it, but she does a mask movement. I don't know if that's taking off the mask to say I'm not lying, here's me taking off any kind of facade, or if that's a bit of a fib in and of itself to say I'm not lying whilst having this mask in the way, right? There's lots of mask imagery within the music video, and even this blinding, right? So there's lots of covering of the face and blocking between them and who they're communicating with. Just interesting. See, even them covering their faces there. Okay, she's taking off the mask, so that might be Sua. Ooh, good little cannon there. Love the ticking movements too. Ooh, good transition to get Yuhyun at the front. Ooh, okay, can we have a second for the dancers? They did a little leg thing on the ground there. Nice, the way they shifted their weight and then swinging the leg around. The way you just like walked front center though. Ooh. Ooh, the way the camera shook there. They all stomped. Nice. Ooh, I got chills there. Ooh, good reveal there with the dancers. Okay, a couple of things. One, I love that they have some of the like bigger, almost like stomping movements. You can even see like the camera shaking. And then they have moments where they really draw out the moves, which I saw a little bit of in the MV. But I love that while they're doing that, the dancers around them are playing with different levels, but they're also doing these faster and bigger movements, right? So the Dreamcatcher members have these very languid, drawn out, slow movements that are very controlled. And then you have the dancers around them that are going like a little bit faster. They're still not like super fast movements compared to some of the other choreo in this, but they have big movements. They're taking up a lot of space in that. Part of that is like you're trying to fill up the space of a performance. And while they do have backup dancers for this, they don't have a lot of them. So depending on the space that you're going to have to fill, you want to make it seem more filled out than it is. This is a pretty small space so far that they're practicing in, let alone an actual stage where they're going to be more spread out. There's going to be more space between them. You want to have those big movements to really fill in that space. But I think that it also is a great contrast between those more drawn out, controlled movements. And same thing with the levels. They're doing great things with the levels here of crouching down and standing up, lifts, even here having the hands held up right around. Do like great framing of these different levels that that they're using. And the one where they like crouched down almost, there was something almost like predatory about that, even though they were like crouched down there at a lower level. Usually that is sacrificing a certain power feeling to your movements when you're literally shrinking down your size. But for some reason, like Sue at the front there, it just worked. I also love the like covering the face. They have some great silhouettes too, like the body shapes that they're choosing for this choreo. It's all good. I love how you can, when they all put their foot down, you can see the camera shake. This part. Like there's something about that that's intimidating. Nice. Great images with the masks. Ooh. They did a good job of lining up those leans too. Wow, they dropped. You can hear it. Like their knees hitting the floor. See, even there, we have her hands raised, their hands are out, filling out the space. And then before that, with this part, we had her with her arms down and they held their hands up, right? So she has her arms out, Yuhyun, it was T formation, and then the rest of them with their hands up, right? Filling in space, playing with those levels, contrasting between who is supposed to be the focal point and who is supposed to be creating this silhouette or scene around them. They have some great images in this. I've said it before in some of the other dance practices that I've checked out from Dreamcatcher that they just do a great job of making a scenery out of having backup dancers. I think it was probably for Vision where I talked about it, because I think that's the only other one that I've seen where they had backup dancers. I think for the other ones I've seen, it's just been them because it was some of their older music. But they did a great job of creating that full image between all of them. I say scenery, it's, I don't know, it's almost like a set piece in a performance, right? When you'd have a bunch of pieces to set the scene of where you are while you're acting within that space. And instead they're doing it with these shapes. I think of it because I did tableau and mime and stuff. Almost all of the kind of set pieces within it were people like acting out different objects or doing actions that made it appear as if there were certain objects that they were interacting with. So that's how my brain works in analyzing it. But they're doing a great job of just like using the space and making it seem bigger because you have all these dynamics in the levels. So when they have their arms out in these T formations, again, they're filling out that space. They're making it seem like there's more of them than there is. And when they all stomp at the same time, that motion and the sound that comes with it, the power behind it, makes it seem like they are more in number than they actually are, which is a great way of compensating for the fact that they don't have a bunch of backup dancers like some of the other dance practices that I've seen where they just have a ton of people on stage, which has its own power to it. But them using what they have and instead putting in these elements that make it seem grander. Oof. Backup dancers went down on their knees hard too, so ooh, love the two circles. Nice, love that lean back. Nice. Nice. Catch your breath after all that. Nice. There were some great parts in that one. There was one part where they were literally moving to get into formation right before the bridge, and you can see them literally walking in time to the music. Now that might seem like a simple thing, but when you have to get to your spot, you have a mark that you have to get to, depending on how much you have to travel, that isn't always going to work out for you. If you have to cover a lot of distance, you cannot walk on the beat. You're going to have to speed it up to cover that distance, or you have to slow it down if you only have a small space that you can work in. But the fact that even though a bunch of the backup dancers were moving a different distance in it, they were still moving within the beat, just at like different paces depending on how far they needed to go, which was really good. Love the dynamics that they had. Love the lean that they do, like really drawn out. And again, there's something like powerful about the fact that they're drawing out that movement, and also it feels like vulnerable in a way. Like it's a very open movement. You're literally balancing, right? There's something less steady about shaping your body that way, and yet because they are doing it and they're doing it with this facade of confidence, it really plays off of the power there. Gosh, I have so many things that I would like to talk about. Love the choreography that we have in it too, creating some movements. Love certain parts where they're just walking forward and you rely on the image of the backup dancers to help with that. None of the still frames I'm gonna have are gonna be good because they're all like moving so much. Just like overall, a really good way of utilizing the dancers that they have. I will say one thing, if I can have one little critique on this, because it was really good overall. There were a few moments where the timing was off. Someone was out of sync. It's me like getting to a nitpicky place because it was such a good performance overall. This isn't even like a proper performance that I have to dig that much to find something that I didn't enjoy, because overall the choreo was really good. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, ooh, that person's not in line. That person's not in sync. That person isn't quite lining up with the rest of them. Because you got to think about your levels a lot in this, because they're playing around with them a lot with floor work, middle part of their range fully standing, and then you have like, these extended movements. So you really have to make sure that their levels line up. There was one though where there was Dami's part where she had two dancers behind her and they did like this leaning movement, and all of their levels were really good for that one. So there are definitely moments where they did get their levels right. They got their timing amazing, like moments where they all landed their move at the same time and it literally shook the camera because they were all hitting that move so hard in sync. So that's not me like saying overall it was bad, but there were a couple times where I'm like, that person needs to speed up. There were a few times where they were slow. I don't think it was the same person. This fast of a choreo can be a little bit grungy with it. I feel like especially in a live performance, they can be a bit grungy with it and they don't have to really worry about people being exactly in time. But because I have a pulled out view, I could critique that. There were a couple times too where they were doing like lines and their lines weren't quite right. But again, nitpicky things because I have to get there, right? Like, it isn't like big obvious things that I'm like, yes, absolutely. But I feel like it's just like a performer part of my brain that like when I watch these kinds of things, I pick out on that. I have the same thing with performances. I try not to always bring them up in my reactions because I don't think that people are always interested in those particular nitpicky details, but I do notice them because that's the kind of thing that I used to watch back for with my own performances, especially with like body shapes and silhouettes, because I've done things like mime and pantomime that your silhouettes and your shapes and your levels are really important. You have to get those right, especially when you are building a whole picture with other people. Just little nitpicky thing, but the fact that I have to dig that deep to find something that I didn't like about it, I think says a lot about how good this choreo was overall. That was a great choreo. The whole thing put together, loved so many different parts of it. It makes me excited to see the performances, whether that's like the different dance videos or getting to see some live performances of it as well. I like to see the dance practices because I want to just focus in on the choreo, and I like having a steady cam to just pull out, see the whole picture, see what kind of images they're trying to make. But getting into those more performance-based dance videos and lives where I'm going to get to see them embodying some of the character of it. They definitely had that here as well, where they were like playing the part of performing the song as well, but it's a little bit different when you have the energy of a crowd or you're in costume. That can definitely change the way that you're holding your body and the way that you're doing certain movements, is that the costume itself has a certain character to it. And also with the camera work, I'm assuming we're going to get some close-ups and things like that where I can see more of the facial expressions and that side of the performance. But overall, really loved this. Can't wait to get into some of those other videos. And I think that this really shows, again, I haven't seen all of their dance practices yet, but comparing this to some of the ones that I saw earlier on, I feel like this is really like a step up in their performance and what they're trying to do. And I think that is really great to see, like the evolution of this kind of being a middle point in my experience, because I think Vision might be the only newer dance practice that I've seen, and then I've seen some of their earlier stuff, but just getting to see them play a little bit more with images and shapes and the kinds of tableaus that they want to make within the choreo is really great. So I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to miss next time I post a Dreamcatcher reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!